Amen. So on behalf of the Happy Healthy Home team, I'd like to warmly welcome panelists and participants all to today's discussion. This is a platform where we meet once every month at least to discuss that which concerns family and child development. And today's topic is very interesting. We'll be discussing the issues that have to do with going back to school and how we can get ready for it. My name is Dr. Nana Esigezi Tete, a medical doctor and a child development expert. And to discuss the topic with us are four beautiful panelists and even many more will be joining us, child protection officers, some directors, Ghana Health Service, Ghana Education Service, all we didn't name them in our advert, but we've got a rich resource in our midst today. And so I'd like to briefly invite our panelists. They want me to make it very, very brief. We have with us Miss Rita Ampia. She's an educator and a psychoeducational consultant. Miss Ampia, can you kindly say hello to us? You're muted.
Oh, everybody, hello and welcome to our wonderful program. Hope you enjoy yourself. Oh,
Thank you. We also have Dr. Betty Banker. She's not foreign to this discussions concerning children and families. She's a family physician, especially interested in adolescent care, works at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital, also known as the Reach Hospital in Accra. Welcome, Dr. Banker.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for your time. We have Mrs. Catherine Baini, sister, a very good friend, who's also the public relations officer for the Western Region Education Directorate. So in a way, she will be representing the government. She's the face of GES in the sense that we're expected to tell us a lot about what preparations have been made. We're expected to tell us a little bit about what to expect with the school curriculum. And I trust that she's in a good position to deliver. So Mrs. Baini, also warmly welcome. And then
Thank you, Doc. Thank you.
we have Dr. Mabel Otibwedi, who is a lecturer, clinical psychologist also at the University of Ghana. She's really prepared to give us all the tips we need in order to get our children psychologically prepared, in order to get our own selves psychologically prepared as well. And so we really appreciate your time. We really appreciate your interest in this subject. Dr. Otibwedi, you're warmly welcome. Please unmute yourself.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. We are really blessed. I know we've got some child protection officers also who will be joining us, and like I said, some directors as well who are interested in this issue. We are in very uncertain times because just at the time that we are ready to go to school, we've been saddled with increasing active cases of COVID-19, and that is pretty unfortunate. This meeting, therefore, seeks to empower parents, teachers, and students with the very much needed information they need so that we'll all know how to work together to create a safe and healthy environment for our children. And this requires that we all get involved. So let me add that parents will not be in a rush actually to send their children to school at this time without convincing themselves that their children will be safe to an extent. And so by the end of the program, we'll share with the house the sort of things to look out for. Those will be standards for safety. I mean, if you go to your world schools, you should look out for these things, ask questions, and convince yourself before you take the necessary steps. So the first question to, um I like Mrs. Baini to actually share with us what the basis for reopening is about. Is it really safe? Because we know that one of the one of the early control measures for the spread of COVID-19 was to close schools because children are known to act as vectors of the spread. Okay, so we'd like to find out what is the basis for reopening. Mrs. Baini, can you help us out, please?
Yes, thank you very much, Doctor. I think when we first recorded COVID in the country, our president has been giving us updates on the pandemic. And in his last four presentations, the virus has come to stay with us. And if we will be able to abide by the protocols and change attitude, I think we'll be able to succumb that this pandemic and also move on in life. And having realized that goals needs to be achieved, life must go on. We can't keep our children at home because of the pandemic. So we had two partial reopening, and per the results we had, we realized that this time it is safe for the school to reopen so that children will be in school, go along with their academic work so that they'll be able to achieve their ambition. So having this at the background, he made us to put in place the protocols of which the and the watch, making sure that the right thing has been done. As I speak with you, all schools have been fumigated. It is not only the public schools, but the private schools as well. When the first two partial reopenings were opened, PPEs were given, students were given hand sanitizers, they were given nose masks. Schools were given thermometer guns, Veronica buckets, then soaps and tissue. There was a team in place in charge of COVID, making sure that students go by the protocols. Some schools even had jingles on where it is played to alert students in the era we find ourselves. So nothing has changed. We have fumigated our schools. We have disinfected, and we have given PPEs to the district. And Monday, we expect that, especially with the basic, they will receive and also give the nose masks and the hand sanitizers to the children. Teachers have been met because they have to also be told as to what to do. We had a COVID training and we included every teacher in our schools. So district directorates have met with teachers, heads of schools to remind them on what to do. We have school health personnel in our school. That is the SHEP coordinators. who see to the sanitation and the health upkeep of our students. They were also part of this training, making sure that the students comply to the laid down guidelines given pertaining to COVID-19. Then again, every school has been mapped to a health post, as it used to be the case when we had our partial reopening, where schools were having holding rooms. This time, it is being recognized at the primary level as well. For the KG, we don't want to keep them long in the school, so they will be spending only 4 hours. So for the KG, they go to school 8 o'clock, 12, they must be taken home. So we spoke to attendants, we spoke to heads to also sensitize parents who are fond of giving their KG children to senior sisters and brothers to take them to school. Then after closing, they'll be waiting on verandas to for them to close before they get back home to just hold on to this kind of acts for now. So we pleaded that parents whose ward are in the KG must pick them up at 12 o'clock from the school themselves so that when they get to the house, they will be monitored and also attended to as talking about good health living. And we have also informed teachers that taking the temperature, we should be very careful. We should not raise alarm on any high temperature, thinking that it is COVID. They have been given telephone numbers that they can call to in case of any suspected case. They can call the health practitioners to come around, pick the child, and the parent of that child should be informed while the health also examine on the child. We are also asking teachers to also strictly comply with the protocols. We realized that some teachers were not putting on the nose masks. We've asked them to do so. This time, there's going to be a strict monitoring. And when we see any teacher just doing her own thing, the directorate will deal with that person because we wouldn't want a situation whereby a teacher can also infect a student. So we've spoken to them that they should also comply with the protocols. Then again, we have asked the SHEP coordinators for the KGs, we've asked the attendants to keep records of their temperature, both when they come and when they are leaving the school compound. Again, we've asked them to monitor the children as they play. We are observing social distancing. As for that one, we are observing it. Now that the primary is back, there are some primary schools whose class size is very large. We've spoken to district directorate to liaise with the district assemblies to look for a measure if there could be a temporary structure to divide those large classes into two. Already we have two teachers there keeping those large classes. If not, then those classes will run shifts so that one comes this week in the morning, then the other one goes in the afternoon. So we've put so many things in place and we are not going to let down monitoring and supervision. Once the school has been disinfected, once we have the washing PPEs, once we have the hand sanitizers, the thermometer guns, once we have people who will be monitoring, we think the school is safe for parents to send their wards to the school. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That was a very exhaustive response. For those who joined in the middle of that first question, I was asking what the basis for reopening was, and what I gather that we are being told is that when some students were asked to go back to school latter part of last year, it was actually partial reopening, and a lot of learning has happened from those experiences. The GES and the GHS, Ghana Education Service and Ghana Health Service, are working closely to make sure our children are safe. So every school has a school health-based officer. The schools have been directly linked to facilities. They have contact numbers. The teachers are being educated, and the education continues. Thank you very much. I like to I like for us to discuss. Okay, people are still anxious about this reopening, and you did mention one thing that as you have been receiving updates from the president, one of the things that we're also learning is that the virus is going to be around for a while. And so we'll have to find ways and means to learn to adapt, adjust, and live with it. And so I believe that this is a very important forum where we can all bring up wonderful ideas, suggestions on what to do and how to do to make sure that life can continue for the children, especially when it comes to learning. That's very important. And this is where my question comes in. This is by in the meantime, your camera is upside down. So we see you in a vertical way. Are you able to adjust it so we can see you well? But this is where my question comes in. What is the
Okay.
negative
Okay. Thank
effect,
you.
or what is the effect on the protracted stay at home by children on learning? What is this long stay at home going to do to them? What is the impact on learning? Okay, and not just on learning. I want a psychologist, mental health, medical people on the panel. Everybody, what is the effect of this protracted stay at home doing to the children? So let's talk about learning. Miss Ampia,
Please, can you ask the question again?
I'm asking what the
Hallelujah.
effects of this long stay at home is having on learning. And if we can
Yes,
talk
yes.
about children, regular children and children with disabilities, what effect is it having on them?
Okay, thank you so much, and I'm really pleased to be part of this panel. Um, Concerning learning, you realize that this COVID has not really affected those of us in the urban communities because we had opportunity to have a virtual learning. Most schools were signed on virtual learning, and then most parents signed their children on the virtual learning, so they benefited. But let's look at those in the rural areas who are also Ghanaians. They have been affected mostly because I don't think they were able to be part of the virtual learning that most schools, engaged in. And even in the urban areas, not every parent was able to afford to buy a phone or to even get a child a tablet. So you learning has been delayed in every child's life, even those who were on virtual, because our internet system was even bad. Some children will be on the virtual learning, the internet will go off. It wasn't even sustainable because our system or the Ghanaian system doesn't have that program or that preparation or the need for us to be on such a system. So the rural areas have really been affected very much in terms of learning. Now, I'm sure most of them cannot remember so many things. Most of them didn't learn at all. I know there was radio. How many people have radio? How many people can afford television in the rural communities? So you realize they have been affected so much. And then when we come to the disability, especially those who are impaired or challenging from the eye, who have those challenge from the eye. So most of these virtual things that we were doing, you need to watch and then see what is going on. How many of them were able to even get that opportunity to watch? Because somebody can be disabled with any other part of the body, but then can be on a virtual learning and then watch. But those who are unable to watch, what happens to them? And even when we come to the cages, those who are younger, those in KG, most of them learn by sight, by what they see. So they need more visual. But getting on the Zoom, parents are even complaining that it is too expensive because your internet is running out and all that. So you realize that it has really affected learning in everybody's life in terms of those who are in KG, primary, secondary, junior high, everybody. So that is all I can say about that. It has really slowed down learning. And when we get back to school, even though we did virtual, but we need to really refresh our minds of where we left off. Either than that, everything that we did previously will be forgotten. So it is important that as we are going back to school, we refresh our minds on where we left off. Before, I know now every child is being promoted to the next level, but if we can have a recap of the previous class before we move on to the new level that they are in, it will really benefit us all, because this COVID has really affected learners, especially those who
Wow.
are disabled, especially those who are in the rural community. Yes.
Actually, so I was going to ask,
Thank you.
are we going back to the class that we were in before the break, or every child will be promoted? And what is the rationale behind that? Because we know that a lot of them have forgotten stuff that they were taught. At least I had the chance to interact with my Sunday school children, and they've forgotten all the songs and the memory verses and stuff.
Mhm.
And so I'm asking myself, what would be the basis for taking them ahead when what they have even taught, they haven't been able to retain it? This is Bani, tell us that, and then we'll go back to talk about what the effect of the protracted stay is having on them. Why is every child being promoted when they
Okay,
didn't
thank you,
complete
Doc.
the previous class?
Okay, before then, I think, thank you. Before then, I want to add to what Auntie Rita said. And coupled with what she enumerated, you realize that this culture of virtual lesson is not part of us. We are used to the face to face. So even students who had access to the television, students or pupils who have access to the radio, didn't see it as learning because it is not room where they see teachers standing in front of them, interacting, they can ask questions. And I think when we started, we did some sampling, and some students were saying that this one, I can't see my teacher, I can't ask the question, I can't say I don't understand. I, it's like I'm cut off, so the interest is not there. So I think coming back to school will help. And not only the face to face that we've learned to do so that learning will move on, but like what Auntie Rita said, virtual lessons has become part of us now. So we have so many content that has been loaded in, in the radio lessons that is being telecasted. So that is it. Talking about the promotion, we realized that the pandemic was not
And he
caused by
used to
any other
comment,
person.
necessary.
Please
Hello.
continue.
So we realized that here we are, we've lost some time. So we are creating space for the new entrants. So we are pushing all students into the new class. Going there, we are not going to start the new class lesson. There is an intervention GES has put in place. We are having the recovering learning, whereby we'll be using the differentiated method of learning approach to recap what was left 2 terms before the new class. So from the first week to the 8th week, this is what we are going to do. We are going to use a kind of playing, loving, coercion, and persuasive means to let pupils recap what was left behind. That is the second term's work to the current class work. So there is an intervention on that, and teachers have been talked to. There's going to be a modality as to how to go about it. So though there had been a wholesale promotion, as I speak with you Monday or this next week, we are not going to start the new class things, but we are going back to the previous lessons to catch up to the current one the child finds himself or herself in. So there is an intervention for that, and parents should be rest assured on that.
Okay, so the reason why every child is being promoted is to create room for new entrants, but then the curriculum
Entrant,
is
yeah,
actually going to take care of whatever was lost before reopening. Okay, that sounds good. What about the medical side? What is happening to the children with this protracted stay at home? I've had to take out pen tops from the noses of children in the last few weeks. It's not been easy. The mischief going on at home. With Banka, what's been happening?
Yes, thank you. We know that children are, by their job description, active, and they are supposed to be active. They are the age where they are, curious, they are, energetic, and it's also good for them to go out for health reasons. And unfortunately, the COVID has, made people who like staying indoors, stay indoors for longer. So what we are seeing a lot of is we're seeing a lot of obesity, childhood obesity, because um, people stay with their tablets or their computers, their laptops, and after the virtual learning, of course, they go to their games. And since, well, you're not supposed to, this time it used to be that mom would say, go out and play, but right now, hey, there's COVID. So you are justified in wanting to stay indoors. So we're having a lot of childhood obesity because of that. And also we're having, as has been said before, the virtual learning has been difficult because the attention span of children is quite short. They sit down for 10, 15 minutes and they have to move. And so when you say don't move, sit, well, everything that you're talking about, they won't even, it doesn't go into their heads. It goes in one ear, comes out the other. So that has also been a challenge. And I've also had situations where adolescents who are high achievers, they feel that they weren't able to do so well with the virtual, and because of that, they get into anxiety, depression, or different things like that because they feel, that they haven't been able to perform as they would like to. There's also, of course, the mischievous experimentation. When we talk of adolescents, we talk of young people, they want to find things out, different various, get into different sexual things, different you know behavior like that. And so it has not been easy. And of course we talk about the various stages in adolescence where you get to a point where they are cooped up, and so then they'll challenge authority, they'll challenge their parents, because they are frustrated, the parents are frustrated, and then they feel like they are sort of cooped up in a small space, and that also brings disharmony in the family. So it's been quite challenging.
Wow. So we've heard about the high incidence of teenage pregnancy, and it's unfortunate that many of the children have gotten themselves involved in this due to this stay at home for a long period. Dr. Chibwedi, what is happening in your corner? What is the psychological impact of this protracted stay at home? You're muted, please.
Okay, thank you very much. I've listened to comments from our panelists, and I think they've all been on track with issues about children being anxious in terms of why they are still at home, and then issues about internet, not being stable and all that. But I'm concerned about even this virtual learning, and it's in terms of it's being a new thing to most of our children. And even in the urban areas, you see that because even though we are in an urban area, most of the children were doing face-to-face. And so this was a new thing introduced to them. Most of them got anxious when they were in their classrooms, whether it was Google Classrooms or Zoom. And you see some of the children even crying. They can't stay there for just even 5-10 minutes, So it hasn't been easy, but as Madam Catherine said, it has become a part of us. And then as parents and teachers, we need to let our children see this new perspective. Now, apart from the face-to-face, this is a new thing that has come to add up the positives about it, the fact that we can learn anywhere, the fact that we can learn new things that we didn't used to have. And I'm happy that GES is having new strategies as to how we're going to transition these children and integrate them back to school. Because going back to school also present with it new challenges, new anxieties, that what are we going to learn? Even parents, how are my children going to, study? Things are going to be difficult because they are going to move from one level to the other without any promotional exams and so on. But I think we all need to be encouraging. We all need to support our children and let them know that we cannot stay home forever. For me, I don't subscribe to that, because if we continue to stay home, then things are going to get worse. So we need to, up our games, all of us, and then start talking, start encouraging them, start supporting them, and even letting them know, like you said, that there's a new wave, sort of, and things are not that good. But it looks like, or it may be that we could even go under another lockdown or whatever. Let's start talking to our children. Let's prepare their minds so that they can adjust. Otherwise, it would be difficult for them again. So once, the numbers are going up, we stayed home for almost a year and all that, we can still be talking about the fact that anything that changes in school can bring about another, and then they can adjust easily than we just pushing them in and then going on a lockdown again. So, with all these educational strategies, I think there should be the counseling aspect too, to prepare parents and children, to let them be aware of what is really going on and what can happen in the near future. Thank you.
Wow, I like the fact that you want us to talk to them about the possibility that they may stay at home longer if they go back to school and don't observe the protocols, don't listen to their teachers, don't cooperate with them, then they'll have to come back home.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are looking forward
Yes.
to going back to interact with their
Meet their
friends.
friends.
Okay.
And one child I spoke to, why do you want to go to school? I want to see my teacher. That's all the reason, She wants to see her teacher, and I can imagine she jumping onto the teacher as soon as she sees her, and all that. So we need to educate them well. Otherwise, they will just be mixing up and then throwing their mask away and all that. So, this time we need more education now. And then support. A lot of them are they are not able to cope very well now because some of them don't even know what's going to happen, so we need to encourage them and support them that things are going to be fine and calm them down. And then they'll be fine. Yeah.
Okay, so I hear
Thank
you
you.
saying that so long as we are willing to do what we have to do as parents, I believe that one of the things that we have to do is to uh, cooperate, support the schools
Yeah.
with their ideas and stuff to make the
Yes.
school safe for our children, and
Yeah.
then get our children also to cooperate, get the teachers
Yeah.
to serve as good role models. If we are doing all these things
Yes.
and we are creating a safe environment, then we
Yes.
can safely go back to school.
Yes. And they are looking up to us a lot. The children, they
Okay.
are looking up
Exactly.
to us as
Exactly.
parents
Yeah.
because how we are coping is what they are observing. So if we are throwing our hands in despair, we don't know what to do, then they will not be able to go. So let's be reassuring and then let them see we are calm and that things are going to be fine once they observe the protocols, once they do things that they've been told to do, then they'll be able to cope. So
Okay.
they are telling us from now on, we should be careful with the way we make, facial expressions and all that. Otherwise, they won't be able to go.
I'll come back to you on that. How or what tips you can give to parents
Okay,
to prepare them adequately psychologically for reopening. And
okay,
so we really have to take this issue seriously, considering that children have been physically abused
yeah,
tremendously during this period at home, and the effect of isolation, like you said, staying away from their friends and teachers and all that, the negative effect is having on them, and then the negative exposures to the TV, the internet, screen times, and
Yeah.
a very interesting part of it is the fact that other children have been are being used as
domestic workers.
domestic workers. Exactly, they have been employed by their parents and relatives, and this is child labor. And so
Yeah,
if you're not going to make it safe for them to go back to school, then we are also perpetrating and encouraging this act of child labor. This is very interesting. I've had to deal with a case of defilement, and this came up because a child was asked to go and sell the sap and meat pie by the parents, and met this boy, and the rest happened. So we are dealing with a very complex issue, and I believe that
yeah,
we all have to have a positive outlook and think
yeah.
about how we can turn the challenges into opportunities and
Yes.
not too much of looking at it from a negative point of view. Quickly, let's go to motivation. So a lot of the children have lost interest in school. There's going to be a high rate of uh, dropouts.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll ask GES first what they plan to do about this dropout that is going to challenge us. And all of us here must be interested, not because your children are not part of this category of children, but because you meet children who may have dropped out and you need to support them one way or the other. And so, what are we going to do about dropping out? And then, Rita, you kindly tell us about whatever strategies we can use to motivate our children to pick up learning again. So, Mrs. Biney, what plans do you have
Yes, dear dog.
to deal with students dropping out of school at this time? And what can we do? I mean, a child who says, I don't want to go back to school. And of course, a lot of them will even go to school, but they will drop out because they will find out that they're not able to cope. They've lost a lot of things, and we need to sort of have a backup. So what are we doing?
Thank you, Doctor. I think GES, we have started embarking on back to school campaign. And here we are talking about two things: safe school. Then every school, every pupil should be in school. Safe school, we are saying that the environment should be friendly. The environment should portray COVID-free environment, whereby all the protocols are in place at the entrance, at the gate, and whoever enters the school will see that we have the Veronica bucket filled with water, there is soap, there is tissue paper. The students put on their nose masks, they are using their hand sanitizers. The teachers are examples of that because they are also exhibiting the strict adherence of the protocols. Then again, we are asking teachers not to use the cane. We are asking teachers not to use the cane. We are asking teachers to show love. Here, you can't embrace, but the way we communicate, our relationship with them should bring the children close to us so that they can have confidence in us, sharing with us their plight and also helping them out. So we've talked to teachers to create this environment. Here we want the student to run away from the house and come to school, not running away from the school to any other place. So we are embarking on safe school, whereby the school will be full of activity, will be full of love. Teachers will understand their students and they will show them love. That's my children will build their confidence back in them. We are saying that students who are pregnant, yes, they should come back to school. If they've given birth to, parents should take these children, make sure they are fed well so that they will be strong enough to go back. We are talking against stigmatization, this time on the part of the pregnant student, on the part of the student who has delivered. We don't want any kind of nicknames being used on them so that they will not stay in school, but rather go back to the house. We are also saying that bullying should be a thing of the past. Gone are those days whereby the weak is capitalized on and beaten here and there. We've spoken to teachers to observe that no child bullies, no child bully. That's the more reason why we've asked them to talk about the social distancing, even when they are playing. Again, we want to build their psychosocial uh, ability, whereby in love we correct, in love we bring you back. So we are doing all this. We've started sensitizing parents using our social media. Yes, we are looking forward for times that GES will be giving us the opportunity to do their best by meeting our chiefs, also going to the marketplaces to meet our parents, to talk to them. We are saying that parents should desist from using negative language. And I love the contribution of our mommy who just spoke before I came in. You realize that the negative talking will not help us. It is rather invoking the negative energies onto ourselves. Why don't we change this negative thought into positive by confessing it and receiving that one? So we are saying that no parent should sound negative. We should all speak the positive so that we will receive the positive thing. So we've started with this campaign, back to school campaign, and we hope that it will go a long way to talk to our students to come back, most especially those who were working. We know some of the students were sent to learn some jobs and they are earning some little money. We are talking to them that when you complete and you get the certificate, you earn bigger money than what you are receiving. what you are receiving now is a token. So they should not put their mind on this and token and say that major is school, I'm not going to school. Come back to school and learn to get your certificate so that it will add value to you so that your money that you are expecting will be huge. So we are doing this. Hopefully, we pray that it will go a long way to have impact on students so that as we are reopening on Monday, we will have a large turnout. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think I'd like to take a comment or two before you come in later. From Iwama, she says, wouldn't it have been helpful if children took a placement test or activity? Some children have actually gone ahead because they were effectively homeschooled. Do you think that a test at this time is a good idea? Later,
A test. Yes,
a
a test.
placement
No,
test.
a test at this time. I think people are looking at the fact that, okay, I was able to join, or this school was able to join. What about, let's think about the others who were not able to join, those in the rural areas, even those in the urban areas who couldn't afford to be on the virtual school. How about that? So they were not on the virtual school. So how are they going to pass that test? It is all right that everybody or every class is promoted to the next level, and then we need to integrate, go back to what we left off. After that, we integrate into the new academic year. So this going to write a test is not necessary. It is even going to dampen the child spirit. Like she said, psychosocial. It is okay. You see, this is a very terrible time where children are anxious, children are depressed, children are scared even going to school and all that. And if you go on to have a test and a child fails, you are just going to dampen her spirit and all that. So this is a time to rather allow everybody to be promoted. Let's go back to where we left off and then refresh our minds, refresh the children's minds on that. When we realize we don't need to rush, teachers, you don't need to rush at all. Let's take our time, one step at a time, refresh the children. Every morning, let us have a discussion with your children on COVID-19, have a discussion on the protocols and all that. Let us not rush at all. Have a relationship with the children so that they can come to you if they need help or if they see anything that they are not comfortable with. But writing a test is not going to help. Writing a test is rather going to make them more scared. Already they are scared of COVID-19 because of things that they have heard about, and telling them you're going to write a test, some of them would eventually fail, because they didn't have any virtual learning, they are not prepared and all that. And then if they fail, you're going to dampen their spirit, and they might even there will be more drop out. That's what we are trying to avoid. But in bringing in the test, people are rather going to stay at home. That's what is
Okay,
going
so
to
what they
happen.
need at this
So
time is
can we just
recovery
hold on with the
learning.
test?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay, all
they should
right.
recover from what we left off. You don't have to assume that because your school or your child did virtual learning, every other child did that. The moment you move on, the others will be behind. We are a country and we are trying to do something together so that if I should be relocated to another place and I go to a different school, I am going through the normal system. We are all on the same system. We are all on the same level, and then we move on. But if your school started virtual learning, probably you have done first term and you think you are moving on to second term, it's not going to help the system. You are going to distort the system.
Okay, so
So
I hear
let's go
you.
according to the.
Sorry, Rita. I hear you. I hear a key word there, which is together, and this together is very important because it has to be
Yes,
parents working with teachers, working with their children, and even showing interest
teachers,
beyond their children
children.
to other children.
Yes,
So that
yes.
together is, if anything, if we don't take anything away at all, the together is very, very important. I see that Irama has a hand up. She wants to probably explain herself or elaborate. I'll
Okay,
let,
can I come in?
yes, Dr. Tibo, do you come in?
Can I can I come in with a few points?
Sure, sure.
Okay, so like Madam Rita said, at this point we need to be patient. We need to be flexible and supportive of our children because this change is unprecedented. Many of us, including our children, are not going to have our lives the way they were again. Things have changed and they're going to change forever because we are moving on into other areas of life. So we need to be a bit flexible for every child. We don't need to force children to do tests. Now more than ever, we need to be concerned about their well-being than academic achievements. Because when we do that, we'll be able to relax them, we'll be able to let them feel good, and then we can move on to the academics. And then what can motivate them is to remind them of the positives. It is not all about we are going to learn again. It's all about going into the school environment, getting used to it again. That you are going to meet your friends again, you're going to meet your teachers again, you're going to learn all the nice things you used to do. So see that side. Let them also see the side of being agents of change. That me, I'm going to help stop the spread of COVID by washing
Okay.
my hands all the time, by using my sanitizers, by keeping my nose mask on. And then,
Okay.
let them know that this whole thing is not all about a disease out there. It's not all about, and that there are new things that have come on board that they never had the advantage of. How many children were aware of what we call Zoom, or how many parents did even know about it, or the Google Classrooms and all that? So these are all new things that are positive. Let them know that going to school is okay. You see, it's not about the fact that, oh, by all means or at all costs you have to go to school, but communicate calmly with them and let them know that going to school is fine. When you communicate that way, the transition is smooth than, letting them or feeling that, oh, this is not the right time, this is not the right time. When will be the right time? That is what we should be concerned with. When will the right time come? So even as teachers, we should listen. We should be ready to motivate our students in the sense that we shouldn't think that everything is the same for every child. No, every child is different. So whilst they come in, we should be prepared that we are going to be open-minded and be there to help the children, on an individual basis, or to help them not in a mass way that would affect majority of them. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we have
Hello,
to,
Doc, can I?
sure, come in.
Hello, Doc.
Speak up, please.
I wanted to say something. We are talking about text. We've all agreed that we are not to do it for now. But what about assessment? I think as for assessing, we can do it. In assessing, we are not talking about
Exactly my
giving
point.
them so
That was
many volumes
exactly
of
my
homework.
point. I've had my hand up just hoping I'll be able to say this.
Yes, please. You'll be invited to
Because
have
my
your say.
point is that as you've all
Sorry, you started speaking
Hello?
already, so you can finish your point.
Hello?
Auntie Irama. Mrs. Bind will
We
come
will
back to you.
do.
Let
We
her
have
finish
various.
her point. Madam Irama, you can finish your point so that you can
Can I
pick up on
continue?
it.
all right. Thank you very much. I'm sorry I was
Oh, okay.
impatient, but my hand had been up for a while and it
Sorry
looked
about that.
like
You
my
can go on.
submission was being buried.
Not at all.
So, just as you've all said, every child is very different. And every parent has put in the interventions. They have tried hard. It's been difficult for everyone. And we must move forward together as a nation. But I'm really scared that if we are not careful, we will actually have people falling through the cracks because we are doing this en masse movement. And when I talked about a placement test, maybe because I used the word test, that is what got people jittery. But I feel that every child needs to be assessed appropriately so they can be helped appropriately. If we all move en masse to the next class, those who have gone ahead will be bored, and so they will distract from your class. And those who are too far behind also will still be demotivated. So those were my thoughts. I agree that generally people are behind, but we can't assume that for everyone because every child is different and every parent has put in place different measures. And it has nothing to do with actually joining online class and so on. Some of us did not join online class, but because we were home, had to teach our children ourselves. So, or we had to hire a teacher. And there were so many other interventions apart from what the schools gave. So I'm just thinking that the discussion can go a bit more broadly to not just those who have been disadvantaged, but also those who have actually gone ahead because of the situation we've had.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And so, Mrs. Barnard, you want to complete your point you were making? Mrs. Barney.
Yes. So we can't say that we are using assessment to repeat somebody. So, like the intervention I mentioned, the recovering learning, there's going to be an assessment. We are going to assess them on their level of intelligence,
Okay.
what they've gotten to. Have they been able to recall what they've learned? Is the mind ready to absorb new things? And I think we have to do that so that it will if also inform the teacher as to what to do next. So
Okay.
we are going to do assessment after this first 8 weeks, recapping of what we left behind before the closure. There's going to be an assessment, and this assessment is not going to ask somebody to repeat or do whatever. It will help the teacher to know what to do next, whether to still go back and do the old things or to continue. So
Okay.
as for assessment, it is very good
Okay.
and it will go a long way to help out. So we'll
Okay.
do something like assessment.
So
Thank you.
I get that you are saying that the assessment is part of recovery learning, and I get that, Madam Irama, the point you were making was to ensure that
That is it.
they are really going to be
Exactly.
assessed to get help. So I think we are all saying the same thing. Let me say that the import of going back to school is not only to make academic gains, and I think that that's what Dr. Otibwedi was trying to say, because you need to be mentally healthy in order to make your academic gains. And so we are looking at everything in a holistic manner. I know that they are going back to school just because they need to learn. Even just to go back to school to meet with friends is a positive impact on the child, okay? Because isolation has its own impact on their social emotional development. The social emotional development has to do with how people learn to relate to each other, how they become social aware of themselves, how they tend to gain a sense of initiative. Okay, so if they're not having that kind of interaction and they're only in the four walls of their home, we know that definitely something is going wrong. Let me say that these steps that we are talking about are not meant to underestimate any child, because we know that every when children go to school, it's a parent-teacher affair. So your child is not the responsibility of a school alone or a teacher alone. As a parent, you are also supposed to do whatever you can do in the house to enhance their potential and to make sure that your child is also doing well. So I think that we need to put all these things into context to make all these things, to place all these things where they need to be placed. Let me take a comment from Vincent. I've seen some hands raised. Let me take a comment from Vincent. Say that I find that innovation always comes at a price, as we don't like change. We are comfortable with the status quo. It seems to me that there's a lot to gain from online studying but it is definitely a challenge for the younger ones, for now at least. Well, it is a challenge because it's new and everything new, like you're saying yourself, is difficult. But I'm aware that one of the things that we all have to get used to is online learning, because just in case they go to school and then they have to close schools again, then you know that schools have to be ready for that plan B. Okay, so we are not throwing away online studying as a disadvantage. And Irama says that she's struggling with the narrative that staying at home has been mostly negative for the children. I've enjoyed my stay with them at home. And we talk also about how to prepare those who need to step back into classrooms after the thrill of having good family time. And my response to that is that the narrative is to let all of us see why we need to work together to promote their going back. So it's not to paint a bleak picture, but to help all of us recognize that you have a responsibility to play. I understand in one SHS school, when the SHS schools went back to school, there was a parent who made sure that he supplied the school with all that they need to enhance the COVID-19 protocol. He took it upon himself because his daughter was there and he felt that, hey, I need to get them safe. I need to get them masks. I need to get them sanitizers. I need to do this. If that is what I can do to make sure that they are safe. So that is how we all have to look at it. That what can I do to make sure that my child is safe in that school? How can I support that safety? Okay, let's see. Let me hear from Nana Ejeba, please. And then Rita, I'll give you the floor. Nana Ejeba, you have your hand up.
Yes. Good evening.
Good
I
evening.
do believe the prioritization of the kids and the fact that they are getting back into, that socializing network thing is exciting and energizing, superseding all the walls that, they have had to be caged in, you know. And so if they kind of, it's possible, yes, we know, they could, well, we could end up having a system that is shut down again. So every challenge comes along with what you get to learn new, and then how do you incorporate the fact that not every one of the kids had all the opportunities that, some other kids didn't get. Some had it, some didn't have it. Some had it to a certain degree. Some, had exposure, so much more. And so if this is the situation, technically what it implies is that we have, what do you call it? We will end up having or needing to use more resources because, like someone mentioned, you would have kids who are way faster that will be bored, or should I say, who have gone far ahead that will be bored, and then those that didn't have an opportunity that need to be brushed up. And so with that first phase of, is it 8 weeks that you mentioned? You get to have a feel of the level where each kid is. And if you now find out that you have, depending on the criteria that you use, you have, say, 5 categories, then that means one classroom is split into 5, 5 groups that need to be helped at different paces. How much of resources do you have to work with kids that are now split into these groups?
Mm-hmm.
So that's exactly where we'll end up, and hopefully how long you will keep that sustained. And if there is no shutdown, then you can keep going and have everybody catch up. For those who possibly might have been lagging behind, and then others wouldn't be thinking that, oh, um, I don't have anything to do here. I need to get out of this place. For those who are like far ahead, I hope I was making sense.
Yes, that's very interesting for teachers to really
We'll
consider.
end up at the resources. Yes.
Thank you very much for that point. Yes, Rita, what do you want to tell us?
I like to say something. Yes, we've been
Normal
talking a lot
classroom.
about
In
how
a normal
students.
classroom, we
Oh,
have
okay.
three oh okay. In a normal classroom system, we have three types of students. we have the higher achievers, and then I'm trying to answer some one of the panel. So we have the higher achievers, we have the average achievers, and then we have the lower achievers. So we realize that through this virtual learning, some children are far ahead. So we can classify them as what, higher achievers. And then this is what the teacher is supposed to do. If you realize that this particular child is far ahead, even though there was no virtual learning in the school, but probably the parents had an intervention for the child by bringing in a teacher. So if that child is far ahead, as a teacher, you need to prepare for all these three children. You need to have something like an extension for that child so that that child does not become bored in coming to school. So even in a normal school system, the teacher is supposed to prepare for the lower achiever, the average achiever, and the higher achiever. And this is a situation where some children are far ahead. So when you are coming to school, you teach a particular topic, let's say addition. You teach addition. Maybe that class is doing addition of one digit number. Then you can go ahead, if you realize this child is doing very well, you can go ahead to give that child three digits number or even four digits number to challenge him. Other than that, you will finish quickly and then you will get bored, and then you will be dragging that child back. So that is it about those who are far ahead. And I would like also want to talk about the assessment. As a teacher, as teachers are learning, we are also assessing children through oral questioning and answers, through exercises, through all that we are able to assess to know the level of each child and what we can do next term or in our next lesson to help the children. So if you are teaching and then you realize, okay, this person is really answering very well, this person is not doing very well, then you create an intervention for such people. So it goes back to say that you need to learn assess answering, that is orally and even through exercises. Then maybe your next topic, you have a plan for all these people so that nobody lacks back. So this is a little I wanted to add to what the person talked about, assessment. Yes,
That's
thank you so
awesome. I
much.
think that what we all need is some reassurance that teachers are on top of their game. And I'm not surprised that you've been able to give us an answer there because that's what educators are supposed to be doing. So thank you very much for the reassurance that it will be well. Dr. Vanka, you want to say something? And I'm coming back to you after this.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to say that, we've been talking about keeping the children safe, keeping the children safe. People are anxious about when they go to school. But we, the parents, I mean, seriously, I work in a hospital environment. COVID has not gone. We don't wear our masks. We want our children to be assured. We want children to learn from us. And we go out to these big gatherings, which could be super spreaders, and we don't wear our mask. And we expect them to go to school and then not be infected. How would a child come to school with an infection? It's from a parent or from an adult. And that child will take that infection and take it, to spread it. It may affect somebody else and they will take it back home. So really, as a country, we really need to be very serious about this. We can't insist on kids having their mask on when we ourselves don't have our mask on, when we ourselves are not socially distancing. Now, the Veronica buckets have become like relics. You go there and it's like, oh, it just shows that COVID was here. I would say COVID was here some, but really we need to take things seriously. We need to wear our mask. Right now, we are opening up different ICUs and different things like COVID is here. It hasn't gone anywhere. So if we want our kids to be safe, we also have to be safe. Anyway, that's my little
Yes, it's not. It's
addition.
not. It's not little. This point has to be emphasized over and over again because I mean, I've seen some posts around going on what on social media, what to do. Children are going back to school. They talk to your child about wearing the mask, how to wear it, how to take it off, how to wash your hands. And I'm telling myself that look, if you haven't been doing this with your child, then you are late because this is not the time to be teaching the children all this. It's something that we should have been doing. We had all the time. It's not late. It's not late to do that anyway. But we serve as models of what is good. And so if we've been doing the right thing, they are watching us doing the appropriate thing, then that's what they are going to do. But unfortunately, if we've been cutting corners and we've not been wearing our mask, then we know that we've got a lot of work to do in ensuring that our children are actually going to listen to us when we say go to school and wear a mask. So that, thank you very much for that all important point. But I'm coming back to you because I'm now coming to ask you, what should we do concerning the health needs? How are we going to keep our children healthy and safe in these times? I figured that you
Yes.
have some powerful points for us. They wake up in the morning. What should we tell them? What should we give them to eat? Uh, Go to school. How should they conduct themselves? Tell us something.
Yes, thank you. I think it's important that we keep our routines as they have been, but then of course that's the additional COVID protocol. Make sure that our children are eating before they go to school, because we know that the time that they are eating, they don't have the mask on. So if they're able to have at least the first meal at school, at home, if that is possible, that's fine. And make sure that the child has a mask and an extra one, because you never know what could happen. Depending on the age, WHO and UNICEF had talked about children less than 5 really don't need to have a mask on. And even between 6 and 11, there has to be circumstances that would make it a mandatory it's mandatory to put on masks. But right now, we know that going to school now, they would have to put on masks, because we don't, there are different criteria that they might meet. So make sure that our children are eating well, they're eating healthy food, fruits and vegetables. We know that when everybody mentions COVID and prevention, vitamin C, and we get this from our fruits, and we get different immune boosters from our vegetables, from eating well. So we make sure that we are eating well, we are having our fruits and vegetables, we are drinking water, make sure that we are sleeping well, we're having enough sleep. Children need their sleep, and when you sleep is when your immune system also rejuvenates. So it's very important that we do that. And then you advise your children about not sharing their masks, because I could just see where a child goes and says, "Oh, I like your mask. Let's exchange." Or, I'm running and a mask fall down. Okay, I just picked it and put it on. So it's very important for us to do that. If some way we could have maybe write the name of the child on a mask so that they can identify it, that would also be helpful. And then also social distancing. You can practice that with your child at home. And then washing of hands. You can teach your child how to wash hands properly. There's a song you can sing, and then be washing your hands. Know that if you finish washing your hands before the song is over, then you didn't do a good job. And also have alcohol-based sanitizer. Make sure that your child has it when they are going to school. And then make sure that you talk to them about the various points. You can look at the day, what the schedule is going to be like, and you can go over with them when would be a good time to stop and sanitize. When you go outside, you come back, you sanitize. When you change classes, you can sanitize. When you come in from break, you can sanitize. And also, we talk about, somebody made a joke about now it's important to have classes under trees, because we know that, indoor, congregating indoors is a risk factor. So as much as possible, ventilation is very, very important. If we are able to open our windows in our schools, it would be very, very good. If we're able to even have our classes outside, if you have a big compound and you don't have too much traffic causing distractions and all of that, it'd be good to even hold some of your classes outside if that is possible. So that is, thank you.
Do you envisage that somebody will probably pick the wrong child home because of the mask?
Yes. Yeah, there's been different
Hey.
jokes about that, but it is important. I mean, to notice, hopefully the child will also not, follow you anywhere. But that is something too that you have to, I'm sure that schools would put different things in place, measures in place, where you could be able to, parents won't just come in and, troop in to pick up your child, but it will be done in an orderly manner, where they'll have a pickup point and a drop-off point, so that things are orderly. You don't congregate people in a a small space.
Okay, I will take a few comments. Peter says assessment of the children should not be the traditional method of writing a test at the end of the term, considering the psychological impact of the COVID on them. Okay, we talked about that. And then Magita Mail says that I truly agree with all the submissions, but my problem is with children with special needs. They already have peculiar problem, and the wearing of the nose mask and all the protocols is just a word to me. How do you make these children cope with the situation? And she's referring to children with intellectual disabilities and autism. And Jacqueline agrees with her that yes, that's a concern. So we have this category of children with special needs,
Yes.
and then the children in kindergarten and preschool. How are we going to help them observe the protocols? Mrs. Baini, what is GES saying to us?
Okay, can I come in?
Sure, sure, please
Oh,
come.
sorry. That's me. So let's.
Dr. Tibu, you can speak.
Okay, so okay, and so when it comes to this issue, affects everyone, but because children with special needs have peculiar issues, I mean, most of them are under some kind of structure, some kind of support, mental health support before, I mean, this whole thing came in and it's disrupted a lot. So I would ask our parents, what have you been doing at home with your child in terms of protecting your child from contracting the condition? However, teachers, now that they are going back to school, their teachers, their caregivers have a huge role to play here because they need to protect themselves very well. Because when it comes to children with autism, they cannot maintain any kind of structure or whatever. So you need to be very careful as the teacher or the caregiver so that you can protect them. Otherwise, you put on a nose mask and they'll throw it elsewhere. You do this and something else will happen. So I think more work needs to be done. If you're a parent and you can get some time to go and assist with processes of caring, fine. If you can get a caregiver, and then the teachers, you know the issues already. So you need to step up and then support them. Some of them cannot wear the mask at all. So what do? You have to be in your mask all the time, make sure that you are clean, wash your hands all the time and so on, and then provide them with the love and care they need at this time to keep their systems up. Like Dr. said, if, I mean, they are pushed back, they are pushed around because they are not able to do certain things, then they are going to, weaken their immune systems and they can also get the condition. So I think we should all get on board, especially with children with special needs, their caregivers and their teachers, and then parents, like Dr. AC said, if you're a parent and you have a child with special needs, this is the time to up your game and do more for your child so that the child doesn't bring it from school to the house. Yeah, thank you.
Interesting times, demanding interesting responses from all of us. I think that we have to work together once again, and we don't have to insist that they wear the mask, especially where they have medical condition that doesn't allow them to. So we need parents and teachers need to really, and caregivers need to really engage on how best they can keep the school safe. I agree that the teachers, in fact, one of the questions I've been asking myself is, are teachers supposed to provide a negative COVID test before the school starts? But then the question is, who's going to pay for it?
Mhm.
That would have been ideal.
Yeah.
And even
then
the
every
school
child should also
vendors
come with
in
a
the
test.
school.
Yes, right.
We realize we also have vendors in the school, vendors who are selling
Yeah.
to the children. What are the school doing for such people? They also need to go through such COVID test before they even come back to the school. Because some schools have decided to cook for the children, yes, but have they been tested with that? Those who have decided not to cook but bring vendors in to sell, have they been tested? The bus driver, the teacher teaching us, they need to be consistently tested. And I heard something that children are not even carriers. Children are actually carriers, so you wouldn't see the symptoms in children. So, and then most of these children are being taken care of by grandmas and grandpas because the parents must go to work. So it is highly critical that the school should really be cautious of how these children are taken good care of. That they should make rules, because if any child should get this sort of disease as a career that we wouldn't even see, who is going to suffer? The grandma and then the grandpa in the house, they are going to suffer for that. So the school should have strict supervision on teachers, strict one, and consistently, to make sure things are okay, the protocols are being observed.
I
Thank
would
you.
like to also say that in as much as we are talking about this, I have to remember that when our children are not well, we shouldn't send them to school because we need a babysitter.
That's great.
You
That is
know,
great.
a lot of the times, even now, I mean, even before COVID, when children are sick, parents send them to school because they don't have anyone to take care of them. And that is how even the common cold, any upper respiratory tract infection spreads. So please, I mean, we are demanding so much from the school, from the parent, from the schools, from the teachers, but we parents, we also have to do our part. If your child is not well, please don't send that child to school.
And you may not necessarily be like you have to test everyone before they go to school. You may test them, but they could also get it again. I mean, wherever because they'll be
Again,
going,
that's right.
commuting from home to school. So the best thing is
That's
for
good.
everybody to be careful, extra careful at this time, and then to ensure that things are done properly. If you weren't doing things properly in your school previously, now you know that there's something on hand, and then you should ensure that you protect yourself and the children. But once something happens, and I think all of us, we shouldn't be like ostriches. We should know that once there is school reopening, mass number of students are going to school, some can get infected. Some children, some adults. So are we preparing our minds psychologically for that? So that it wouldn't be like what happened previously, where parents had to rush to the schools to take their children. Let us know it is possible that some teachers could get the condition, some children could contract the condition. When it happens, what do? We all need to remain calm and know that there are systems in place to deal with it. If we all make our minds that this is not going to happen, everybody is going to be safe, then when it happens, much anxiety, and then people will be rushing in and there will be so much talk around. So let's prepare our mind. When it happens, what do we do? I mean, the various schools, what do we do? Parents, when you get to know that your child has or your child's teacher has, what do? You need to stay calm and know that things will be fine. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you very much. Mrs. Baini, what are you saying about all
Hello.
this? What is
Doc,
he
Doc, can I
saying?
come in?
Yes, we need to hear from you.
Yes. Oh, thank you very much. Yes. I think for the food vendors, before you sell in a school, you have to do medical examination. Then EPA will come around, inspect, then before approval is given. We are saying that every school should make sure that food vendors also comply to the protocol. Serving the student, there should be this social distancing. We should make sure that we go to the canteen, make sure that the canteen is neat. Um, Plate that they used to sell is washed with a hygienic water. I mean, they use a clean water to wash these plates. Then after, the teachers can also make sure that the vendors themselves, they observe the social distancing, their masks are on, and periodically they use the hand sanitizer or the uh, hand washing. This is going to be a stress on the teachers. And we've told them that we have to, because it is our children. And when they get it, we also stand the chances of also contracting it. Talking about students with disability, the government is going to give them face shield, and the mothers, they are going to, I mean, the caregivers, they'll be giving nose masks, face shield, and gloves as well. The, we've advised them to monitor, as Auntie Mabel said. They should also keep an eye on them. They should train them, talk to them, I mean, do their sign to them to understand the era we find ourselves in. And they should be talked to when it comes to the social distancing. GES has put all these in place, and we've communicated with these stakeholders, and we are hoping that they will also comply. And like we've all said, parents will also talk to their wards as they are coming back to school. And when we do that collectively, I think we will have a common goal to uh, deal with this pandemic. Again, I wanted to add that parents who are giving those marks, especially with the KG people, we should desist from giving out this fancy nose mask that will attract all people around your child. I mean, the nose mask that has cartoons on. If it's going to be something that will be shared to the whole class, that is fine. Nobody will chase after your child wanting to see Ben 10 on this or whatever. So I think we should also take this advice that in any way we want to augment whatever the government is doing, as in the area of nose marks. Yes, we can attract the children with these cartoons and the colors and colorful nose marks that will keep them put it on as we want them to do it. But it shouldn't be on one person, so that the whole class will not chase after that child wanting to touch or take the nose mask from the mouth. So we should also take note of that. So as for our system of teaching, it has been changed. We've moved from the lecturing style of teaching into activity based of teaching. So here, this time, our classroom is going to be full of activities. We are going to incorporate the COVID-19 protocols in our ranks so that it will sink well and create the awareness on the era we find ourselves in. So we are assuring parents that we are up to task to make sure that the school is safe, that every one of us and the students as well comply with the protocols laid down. All that we are asking is that they should also support us. They should also support us. When the child comes to the house, we should also play our role by insisting that they comply, so that it wouldn't be like in the school I'm this, in the house I'm different, so that we can
There should be consistency.
also chant a common call. Thank you.
All right. So I want to touch on the
Yes.
issue of class size. What are we doing about the large class sizes? And then I'll take a final comment from each one of us, and then allow comments from the participants. But then one of the things I want to do is I want to share with you a checklist of what safety looks like by WHO, so that you can ask questions when you go to your ward
Okay.
school. Are you doing this? Are you doing that? Is this in place? To give you a fair idea of whether your child is really, really safe. So quickly, Mrs. Bandi, can I talk about class size? What are you doing about the class size?
Yes.
And then I'll give
Yes.
everybody a minute
The
to round
class
up.
size for the public schools, those with class size, we have 2 teachers taking care of those classes. So those classes are going to be split among the 2 teachers, and they are going to run shifts. So this week, if teacher A comes in the morning, then the following week, the teacher A moves to the afternoon. So that is the modality the district directorate has had with the teachers, and they've agreed. So class sizes are going to be splitted. And for the public, we are going to run shifts in some schools, not all schools. And even in some schools, it will be some classes with that large class.
Okay, so
With
it
the
is school.
private, I am told that they are also thinking alongside, you see,
So it will be a
they
school-based
are also
decision.
thinking
Mm-hmm.
of either running the shift,
Continue.
either running the shift system or also doing something we call tracking. The private schools, they are thinking of tracking or running shifts. But now they are also torn between whether they will get their full complement of teachers and pupils, because they know and they heard that some parents withdrew their works from the schools because when they were demanding for school fees and those stuff. So for now, they are holding on to Monday. They will have a final decision when school reopens fully, so that they will know the number of people who have reported, and also have parents who want to take their work from school, give them the information that this child has been drawn from this school, so that they can also take a decision. But on the whole, I think they are also going by the shift system or the track system. They are doing the tracking because they say they lack space, and some of them also don't have the right teachers. The teachers who have been trained with NACA concepts of teaching this time. So those schools are going to, if class A comes to school this week, the following week class B will come so that class A will rest. And we spoke to the association chairperson that in any decision they arrive at, they should let the directorate know, so that we also come in to guide and streamline. And at the end of it all, the Ghanaian child will not be, any Ghanaian child will not be left behind. So that is what we have done so far, talking about the class size. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam PRO. We've heard that PROs can talk very nicely. So somebody has put in the comment box that we hope that action will follow. We appreciate your time. And so we'll be winding up today's discussion. I believe that it's been very fruitful. We've learned a lot. I'd like to take final messages. Dr. Banker, I'd like to go first concerning health. We need to boost our immune system, vitamin C rich foods, expose ourselves to the sun, uh, talk to our doctors for zinc supplementation. Dr. Banker, what do you have to say to us as our children are going back to school?
Yes. So, as we said, we know that first of all, the COVID vaccine is not in Ghana yet. The FDA brought something, brought a circular around. Please, we don't have it in Ghana yet. So if you are getting some from somewhere, well, it's questionable. So please, what we know is that it's a virus and it's our immune system that helps to fight it. Whatever medication we take, it's for symptomatic treatment. So please, let's build our immune systems by eating well, healthy foods, taking our vitamin C, sleeping well, and washing our hands, keeping social distancing, wearing our mask properly, not under our chin or just over our mouths, but it has to cover the nose and the mouth. And we as parents, we should also do it for our children to learn from us. Let's try to keep try not to be in crowds. That also helps quite a bit. We know that it spreads that way. So that is what I'll leave with us all. Let's let's be examples for our children, and then also let's be positive. Hopefully next year by this time we won't have to talk about COVID again.
That's great.
Thank you. Thank you. And so
Thank
every parent should be a citizen and not a spectator. I think that
That's right.
we should be on the high alert, visit the schools at all times, see what is going on, report who you have to report. I mean, not reporting because you want to be vindictive, but because you want the best for all of us. And so, Miss Rita Ampia, what do you leave with us to help us to
Yes.
get our children learning and on track?
The PPEs are very, very important. And as much as it is important, it is another cost also to the school. So as a teacher or as an educator, we will go for, or we will do what we have available, because at the moment the school decides to increase the school fees, parents will complain, because we also need the PPEs. So as a teacher, every teacher would use what they are given by the school or by the government. So what I would say to parents is that you don't have to depend on what the school is doing. You don't even have to listen to what they are doing. They can say it, you can go to the school, you can see it. But when you come home, are they really using it properly, or they are being stingy on them so that they can also save money? So as a parent, what can you do for your child? Make sure all the necessary things your child needs to be protected, you give it. Give them hand sanitizers, don't depend on the school. Give them their nose mask, write their names on their items, give them their own bowls, their own spoons, and all that. And as a teacher, it is important that every morning you make it very important to talk to the children so that they will calm down, they will be less anxious. Then you don't also need to worry about the school fees. Then you can also ensure that
Do we have a network problem there? Okay, we are losing Rita there, but let's talk to Dr. Otibwedi.
rush them, then
Okay.
studies.
All right, Rita, we lost you a bit, so repeat what you've been saying, and then
Yes. Oh, sorry. I had a call.
and you have
I'm
one
saying
minute.
that, yes, I'm saying that as parents, we don't have to depend on the school or the teachers. You go and you see PPEs all around, protocols being observed. But when you come back home, do you think it is what you see? Because it's another cost, and I'm sure schools will be stingy on that. So as a parent, you should also protect your children. Get them their own sanitizers, get them their bowls to eat in, get them their spoon, write their names on the items. And as teachers, we should be able to make it a point that early in the morning, every morning, we don't rush to teach, but rather we talk about COVID-19. We have a discussion, we have a dialogue with the children. You calm them down so that they will be less anxious before teaching and learning can move on smoothly. That is the little submission that I have. Yes.
Wow, so teachers have a lot of responsibility at this
Thank
time.
you.
They have to suddenly turn into supermen and superwomen, and if you have anger problems, you have to manage it. If you are anxious, you have to get a
Manage.
psychologist. If you are, I mean, I think that we need to support teachers at this
You have to
time.
do
We need to
everything.
support them. All right, so I know
Yes,
Mrs.
please.
Bunny is in a hurry
Yes.
to touch on all the things that you have raised, but I'll let Dr. Otibwedi speak before she comes in.
Okay, thank you very much. I think as parents, we need to support our children to face their fears. Most of them are going through, going to go through separation anxiety. I mean, they've been in the house with us for so long and they are now going to break to go to school. So we need to listen to them, their fears. If you can even let them write it down. What are your fears? What are your worries about going to school? And then be calm and communicate with them. Avoidance is never the answer. Don't let us avoid these things. Let us be ready to listen to them. And when they are calm, they learn better. When children are calm, they learn better. You realize that the stresses they are going through, the anxieties actually affecting the physical and chemical structures of their brain. And definitely their attention span is going to be affected, their concentration, their memory at this point will not be the best. But we need to empathize with them as parents. You have your own issues about your child doing well or not doing well. Your own enthusiasm is key at this point. That you need to be very positive, that you encourage your children that things are going to work, and then create some kind of structure for them. They have changed a lot of things. Their sleeping times have changed and all that. Start putting in some consistency and structure. They are sleeping at 8, they are sleeping at 8. Regular meal times and times on their taps, you should check it. Like if they are spending 2 hours, it's 2 hours, and then let them know about that. And don't forget to look for signs of stress in your child as a parent. Some children would now be showing signs of, not wanting to go. Some of them will show signs of regression. Putting at this point, some of them will be losing weight or gaining weight. Look out for all these. And if you are not able to handle them as a parent, don't hesitate to contact a psychologist, a counselor, a pediatrician to help you. So that you can help your child. We all need to come on board at this time to help our children so that they would succeed. And like I said, being at home, we have also had some interesting times with them, some positives, some negatives, but we should all be proud of it that some of us never had the time to be with them, but COVID has brought us together. Know how to behave as we move on. That now we need to have a little time for our children, and they will know them better. So I hope and pray that what all the things I've said and all what other panelists have said, as parents, we're going to keep them well, and then help our children with them. If you realize that things are getting too much for you, get in touch with any of the professionals I mentioned, or even the school and the teachers, and discuss issues, and then let's get moving. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So let's not walk alone on this journey. And let's remember that the brain of the children, the brain has gone through a lot. So it needs a lot of support, love, care, attention to actually recover and remediate. Yes.
Yeah.
And thank you for that. Mrs. Biney, in closing, before I share with all of us
Yes, dear.
the sort of things we need to look out for in assuring ourselves that the school is really safe to have our children attending school. So we'll do that after, and then any comments, any suggestions, any questions, you can put them in the chat box so that we can do that quickly, and we'll be winding up for today. Thank you, Mrs. Biney.
Yeah, no, I think much have been said. You also notice that there are changes. There are changes. This year, the KG to primary are going to do the trimester, while the JHS will run the semester work as the SHS, just because there's going to be a new rollout of a curriculum. And it is not new, it's the second phase of what we started with 2019 when we rolled out the new curriculum for the KG and primary six pupils. So when parents hears of anything new, I think they should not hesitate by coming to either the district office, the district education office, or the school to find out so that they can also be abreast of the new wave we are in. Then I think we should also applaud our parents for their patience and support. They've all agreed and accepted that the government cannot do it alone. We don't know it all. I think the reopening is not only the Ministry of Education and Genius and its body who are doing that, but the Ghana Health Service are also on the watch. We promise to do our best, but one thing we ask of parents is that have patience and try to find out things. We've spoken to our female teachers as well as the male, just to ward off from our kids, especially now that they are looking nice and their curves are showing. Males should know how to relate to them. And I think we should also start sex education with our children, let them know the value of their sexuality. And this will go a long way to protect them whenever they are out and a male teacher is making advances on them. We appreciate you, Jean. This is from the Genius Directorate. On behalf of Genius, I salute every parent and we appreciate your effort. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Well spoken. Well spoken. So let's take care of our immune systems. Those of us who give our children Indomie and fizzy drinks and refined foods, refined foods, these things will not help your children at this time. Let's do natural fruit juices and let's give them our local Ghanaian meals to eat. And then I'm happy that this money has started on the child protection issue. Okay, we need to protect our children from sexual predators. It's important. And we've done a couple of meetings to talk about these. I believe that if you find a discussion on pornography and sexual violence, what should our children know? You will learn a few things, even on how to talk to your child about sex and sexuality. So let's go quickly. What does a safe school look like? So you should be interested in one, whether the school has provision for continuous risk assessment. Are they continually giving you updates on the general health and well-being of the children, the teachers, and other staff, including risk of exposure? Okay, do they have the capacity to adapt their systems to operate safely? Are they thinking about equity and how to do the impact of on the educational loss? And then infection prevention measures, okay, the environmental cleaning, contact minimization with unwell individuals, what provisions have been made, how are they going to do a physical distancing based on age considerations, the issue of ventilation. I've seen that Gideon, you commented on ventilation in your comments. You've already mentioned, I guess it came in after we had mentioned that age appropriate wearing of masks in schools when physical distancing cannot be ensured. School transportation, if the school is transporting your ward, how many children are in the back at the time and how do they carry them? And then meals, how are they going to provide them with meals? They're saying that every child should have their own cup, should have their own plate, their own cutlery, and they should eat in a well ventilated area as well. And then curriculum expectations. They're all anxious about the curriculum. You need to find out what recovery learning means for the child in the school that the child is in, and what are the provisions that have been made to respond to, responses in line with the national health protocols, and then monitoring and surveillance. There should be constant monitoring every day whether these things are happening. And our children will even come and tell us so. At least my children, they always tell me if anybody comes to my home in my absence without a mask, they'll tell me so and so came here, didn't wear a mask because nobody enters my home without a mask. Then we have to think about uh, hand hygiene. They have water and running water, soap, and hand sanitizers available. If not, you have to make provision for your child. And this is not too much. You just find a little bottle for the week, put these things in, and tell the child this is for A and B purpose. And I like what Dr. Otipedi said. He said, our children, we should teach our children to be agents of change. So you're not teaching them to just take care of themselves, but you're telling them that, look, this is what we all have to do to get out of this pandemic. This is what we all have to do to stay safe. So if you want us to get out of it, if you want things to become normal, then you also have a responsibility to observe the protocols. And I think I love that point so much. Then the schools, what provisions are they making to adapt and disseminate health education messages on the disease? What provisions are they making to disseminate good health behaviors? Okay, what is the disease outbreak preparedness and response? If a disease breaks out, how are they going to respond? You've got to ask all these questions to make sure the child is safe. And Dr. Tibedi said, he said, let's not assume that we'll be safe. Let's also assume that we'll not be safe. And how are we going to deal with it? Let's have a plan B. If your child gets COVID and you get COVID, what are you going to do? God forbid. But it's good to consider these things so that just in case it happens, it's not too new and not too heartbreaking experience. Then we need to talk about uh, we need to ask questions about I'll talk about the critical needs such as water, sanitation, hygiene. Then we also have to ask about how feasible it is to implement the protective measures. Okay, so we are talking here, having a very nice discussion. But how feasible is it? Can they go back to school and get these things done? Okay, so I think that we need to talk about, we need to ask what happens during the break time. How are they going to go on break time? What happens when they close? KG will close before older children will close. How are we going to ensure that there's physical distancing and there's no crowding at one place? Okay, and then how do they enter and leave the school? They have to enter in one place and leave from another place. They're not going to all go through here and there. So schools that have two doors are at a better advantage. Like the classroom has two doors, at a better advantage. Ideally, there should be two doors anyway. And so then the school has to have a register to take personal attendance, and they have to know where every child is at what time and why they didn't come to school. They have to be able to uh, also look at their teaching approaches to make sure that every child is taken care of. Then we talk about physical distancing. You have to be concerned. What happens to physical distancing? Respiratory etiquette and education. Is it going to go on? Does the school got posters, flyers, things on the wall, drawings to teach the children? If they don't have it, you have to suggest to the school, look, you need to, yes, you're talking, but you need to have all these things in place. Then, so those are communication materials. Then we talk about the daily checks. It's important, the daily checks. Okay. And then the school-based health officer. Who is the school-based health officer? What do they know? How much do they know? You have to be interested. Okay. We don't want what happened earlier on to happen again in the Ashanti region where a child was ill and the teachers didn't want to even go close to the child. They didn't even want to near the child. That is so serious. And so you've got to talk to your school about it, your what school about it. And then are they raising awareness among the staff and students of the importance of self-reporting any systems? So any symptoms, sorry. So if they're not well, they have to report. If they see any child is not well, they have to report. And if they are not well, they need to stay at home. Follow the rules for quarantine and self-isolation. Okay. So what happens when a child gets sick? Is there room for contact tracing? Suspected cases? How are they going to manage it? Do they have sick leave policies? If the teacher is not there, what happens to the children? Are they just coming to come to school and come and make noise in the class? Or do you have a way they're going to communicate to parents that the teacher is not well? So maybe today don't come to school or something. We need to ask all these questions. And then finally, the school should also give us updates, regular updates. Can be a weekly update on what is going on to prevent mass spread of COVID. And they should have training sessions for their staff, regular training sessions And I believe that I've given you a good rundown of what a safe school should look like. So go ask questions, convince yourself. Don't rush to take your child to school, but let's be positive. Let's face our fears and let's help the children to face our fears. I've seen a few comments in the chat box. Okay, thank you very much for your nice comments. And Nana Ijiba says balancing the efficient use of our teaching resources in the school, since we don't have it all. So we should think about utilize every support system we can. So support systems are very important. That's what Dr. Otibodi talked about. Get help, don't work alone. Getting back to school is also another change that will affect all involved parties. Change management skills is a lot to learn, but we can. We will learn and rise above our challenges and come out stronger and smiling. Take it easy on ourselves as we fail. Try to deal with all this. Laugh along. Yes, we can beat COVID-19 in our schools. On that note, I'd like to bring the meeting to an end. We have one Director of Education, our Miss Reverend Mrs. Elizabeth Akwako. Is there anything you want to say to us? And anybody else, if there's something on your heart that you really want to talk, you don't want to type, I'll give you a minute to also talk. Mrs. Akwako, please. Say hello to us.
Yeah, thank you, Nana. And hello to everyone, especially to our speakers. It's been wonderful.
It's been wonderful.
Very, very informative. And I believe that everyone who's listened to, who's been a part of this, has been blessed. We are informed, we've been educated on a whole lot of things. I just want to say, let us go out there and tell others. A lot of parents are scared. They don't even know how to handle their kids. And so let's go out there and encourage all the others. As much as possible, everybody, all hands on deck, and together, I believe that we can forge ahead and make it. Like one of them said, we can't stay at home forever. Whatever things, and if we want a perfect situation, then let's forget it. And so let's all go and right the wrongs. And I believe that we can walk to the schools, walk to your child's school, and question anything you feel is wrong there. If they don't listen to you, PRO has said it all. Move to the district office or the regional offices anywhere and talk. And we are all ears for you. We all want to come together and make sure that our kids are safe in school. Now, thank you very much for this. It's very, very good. God bless you.
Thank you very much. I've learned
And
a
I
lot
say, are
as
you cool
well.
to all the speakers?
Yes, I echo to all the panelists. We are grateful. Mr. Tampia, Dr. Mabel Tibwedi, Dr. Betty Banka, Mrs. Catherine Baini. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much, all our participants. You've been wonderful. And on this note, I'd like to say a simple prayer and we bring the meeting to an end. So pray with me. Father, we thank you for today. We thank you for your goodness. We thank you for a wonderful panelist. We thank you for all the things that we have spoken about. We pray that you give us the grace to put it into practice. Let it not just be mere talk. But we pray especially for our children and our teachers. Cover all of them with the blood of Jesus. Fill them with wisdom. School administrators, help them to know what to do. Help them to know what is right. And all of us parents, may we be wonderful, supportive parents on this course. We pray that together, we will beat COVID in our schools in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. God bless
Amen.
you, everyone. And yes, we will make the recording available on the various platforms where you saw this announcement. And join us next month for our next session of a happy, healthy home discussion. God bless us all. You can put your video on and let's see your face. Say bye-bye before you go, if you care to.
Okay, so bye-bye.
All right.
Thank you
Thank you very
for
much.
meeting all of you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Dr. Nanesi, thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Dr. Banka, thank you so much.
Hey, Dr.
Bye.
Nyan, you didn't talk to me.
Thank
Dr. Nyan, I see you. Any comments for me?